everybody. This is Nate with another Backcountry beer review. As the sign says, I'm on Mount Taylor, which is a very tall and extremely prominent peak in western New Mexico, at least by New Mexico standards. It's, I think, number 2 on the New Mexico prominence list with something like 4,300 feet of prominence. And the view is just fantastic. The mountain itself is beautiful. This is actually a really popular hike, yet for the, 8th, 9th, 10th time in a row, I'm the only one at the trailhead. So I'm happy to have the mountain to myself and enjoy this beautiful scenery. Lager Summer is continuing, Lager Summer 2022 that is. And the beer I'm reviewing today is by Arrow Brewing Co in Albuquerque, New Mexico. It's their Denim Tux American Pilsner made with blue corn. I wanted to review this beer because blue corn is a very quintessential New Mexico ingredient. Of course, Lager Summer started last episode with my review of the Red Oak Lager, which is one of my favorite beers ever. It's made in North Carolina, so I wanted to do something a little special for the first New Mexico beer I'm reviewing for Lager Summer 2022. Arrow Brewing, I think they're a great brewery. I talked about them a little bit I reviewed their Czech Dark Lager, Cosmic Ruins, which in retrospect was actually one of my favorite beers from Lager Summer 2021. It was really, really good. Generally, I expect high quality from Arrow, and they haven't disappointed me yet. There's nothing really on the can to describe the beer. It just says it's an American Pilsner with blue corn. It's an interesting take on a lager style beer, given that really the majority of American lagers are made with corn. I think they flaked corn. I don't know if that's corn flakes or what, but most macro lagers are made with corn. So it's really interesting to kind of put a fascinating twist on that, both add a certain Southwest flair to it and riff on the style a little bit and see if you can kind of improve what the big beer companies are doing. So let's open it up and give it a taste. Time for a sip. It definitely has that Pilsner flavor. And they say American Pilsner, which to me, an American Pilsner is really more of a more intense German Pilsner. And I would say this is pretty commensurate with that. Specifically with the flavor profile, I'm leaning more towards like herbal, slightly vegetal, maybe even a little bit of dank notes, coming from really the hop profile if I had to guess. But I am picking up a little bit of like lemongrass, maybe a little bit of, now this is I think the blue corn, I'm picking up kind of a little bit of corn husk, a little bit of like campfire ash. It's not really smoke, ash in my opinion. Picking up a little bit of like natural sweetness from the corn, and like to clarify, that's not like sweet corn from the can, right? Like cream corn or corn on the cob, sweet corn. It's really more like just the natural slight perception of sweetness you get in maybe something like a cornbread or corn breading on like a corn dog, right? Like that corn, and I'm sure they add sugar to that stuff, but it's got this kind of like natural sweetness that comes along with cornmeal. On the finish, I'm getting a little bit more of like bitterness, a little bit more of that vegetal and dankness coming out a little bit. It's a kind of a fascinating beer. I think the real gem is in that middle third, because I think that's where the blue corn is kind of sneaking out. Otherwise, it's a very drinkable Pilsner, right? It's still refreshing, it's still crisp, it's still nice, full-bodied. Again, this is what I like about Pilsners. Sub 5% ABV, but really full body, really something you can enjoy and put back without getting just plastered after 2 of them. So cheers, and have a backcountry beer for me. Historically, that's really because malt production, the quality of malt you could make in the US was very poor compared to the quality of corn. So beer makers and whiskey makers too, it's the reason why bourbon is made with corn. Beer and whiskey makers had to shore up their mash bill or grain bill with corn. And so